Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to the show. I got some dates I want to plug. Okay, October 14th, I'll be at the Comic Strip here in New York City. October 21st to 23rd, I'll be at the American Comedy Company with Dan Soder. November 5th through 7th, I will be at Skankfest. I'll be doing Skankfest in Houston, Texas. We're working on something November 19th through the 21st for Atlanta. Still working on that. November 26th through 28th, that's Thanksgiving weekend, I will be at Helium Comedy Club in St. Louis. And then December 10th and 11th, I will be at the Independent Comedy Club in Detroit, Michigan. And then what else do we have? And then I think December 15th through the 18th, I will be in Boston. I'm going to headline a little independent show Wednesday night on the 15th. And then from the 16th to the 18th, I'll be at Laugh Boston with Dan Soder. So that's a lot of fun. Some feature stuff, some headlining. Come on out, and I hope to see you there. Now let's start the show. I talked to Beth Bourdon. She's a Twitter mutual of mine. She's a lawyer. She lives in Orlando. We had a good conversation about, we talked about law. We talked about Casey Anthony. We talked about the relationship that lawyers have with their clients. We talked about the legal process. And I think you guys are going to like it. Thanks for listening. Patreon.com/sitdownpod. Enjoy the show. Hello, folks, and welcome to the Sit Down. Law. What is it, really? What are lawyers? What is a judge? I was thinking the other day that I probably don't know enough about our judicial system, and I see our guest on Twitter a lot, and she seems to know what she's talking about in regards to criminal trials and all kinds of stuff like that. So today we have Beth Bourdon on the pod. Thanks for being here, Beth.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I feel like I should probably know more about this stuff, and I don't know that much about it. And I guess my first question for you is was there any kind of was there anything that made you want to be a lawyer? Was there an origin story?
Well, when I was little, my mom used to say that I was very good at arguing and I should be a lawyer, which then meant I did not want to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
But then I went to school, and that was the only thing that was interesting in undergrad. And I met a teacher there. She was a public defender at the time. And everything that she had to say after class when we'd be hanging out, it really interested me. So I went to law school to be a public defender.
And that's what you do currently?
Yes.
Now, I remember, I'm trying to think of the few experiences that I've had in my life with lawyers. Not too many of them, but I did move somebody one time, and I moved this couple, and I moved them from Midtown Manhattan to somewhere in Connecticut, and they were both lawyers for the company Cuisinart, which is funny to me because I guess Cuisinart, very big company. But do you think there's more money in that kind of law than what you do? Obviously you're happy with what you do.
I think that there's more money in almost every area of law than what I do. I think the only people who make less than me are with legal aid.
Okay. What about a traffic court lawyer?
Even traffic court lawyers, because if you're spending $99 and there's, a ton of people that are like, oh, I don't give a shit, $99, those guys are probably clearing $300,000 minimum.
Right. And they get to wear jeans to the traffic courthouse.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, I thought that was funny because I was thinking about these two people who were lawyers for Cuisinart, and it's like they're probably on call when somebody like gets their finger stuck in a food processor or something, or
I
they're
just feel like you're joking with me right now. Like lawyers for Cuisinart is just funny. It
yeah, no,
just
but
is.
I'm pretty sure they worked for Cuisinart or KitchenAid, which KitchenAid's probably worse. But it's just I guess that's a big company and they need lawyers for when somebody for when like a kid gets hurt. I don't know, but yeah. But so did you always know you wanted to be a public defender?
I from the time that I was in undergrad, yes, I
Mm.
did.
Mm-hmm.
So I am living the dream.
Nice. Yeah, and then so like what is your so we chatted a little bit today and you were like you said that you're in trial. You're in trial currently?
I was in trial. Last week I had a trial that began on Tuesday. We spent all of Tuesday picking our jury, and then opening statements started on Wednesday. And by Friday afternoon around 3 p.m., I had lost, and my client got sentenced to multiple life sentences.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when a jury thinks that you murdered someone and then carjacked, kidnapped, and sexually battered someone else.
Uh-huh.
So that's generally speaking, juries frown upon that.
Right. Now, when something like that happens, how does that when you have a all right, so cuz what is the I guess talk a little bit about the relationship that you have with your client when you're a public defender because this person, I don't know if they were I don't know if you like maybe they were guilty, maybe not, but is there part of you when someone gets sentenced to multiple life sentences for murder, like is there part of you that goes, "Oh, damn." Rats.
It's never easy to have a client get that kind of sentence, especially when it that didn't have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if they have a plea offer that they rejected, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't ever know exactly why the offer is rejected. Many times it's because your client is so young and they're hearing an offer that's a number that's more years than they've been alive,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't fathom that. They can't process that number.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are
Mm-hmm.
still so young that they just don't think about things the way we do because their brains are still developing. And
Right.
I'm seeing people who are probably otherwise decent people that had one day that was a very bad day in their life.
Right.
And some of them have a mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were just really upset and in a bad, dark place. And
Mm-hmm.
what hurts is they're all very nice and pleasant and kind to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to see them spending that kind of time when they don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So when someone is charged with a crime, I guess talk about that process a little bit. Are they given they're given some kind of deal from the prosecutor, and then they either accept or reject it?
So generally speaking,
Because I gotta you gotta talk to me like I'm like a 6-year-old, and most of my audience is too.
okay, so generally speaking, I don't think there's anywhere in the United States that has the ability to take every single case to trial that's prosecuted by the prosecuting authority. It's just too much.
Okay.
So on a lot of low-level nonviolent crimes, those plea out the easiest and the most.
Mm-hmm.
No one's too upset with what happens to someone who had pot.
Mm-hmm.
But where it starts getting harder and the plea offers get worse is when there's an actual victim involved, because victims, and it doesn't matter what happened to a victim, you key their car, they want you buried under the prison.
Right.
So victims, they get a say, but they ultimately don't have it's the state attorney's authority what offer gets given. And then when you get up to my cases, which all of mine right now are murders, they don't make an offer. They expect you to come to them and make an offer to them that you know your client will accept. And then they go to the family of the deceased and talk to them about reasons why a plea offer should be given, or whatever the case may be. And, you know, maybe they accept what we came up with and maybe they counter back. But they don't want to talk to the family until they know for sure that someone is willing to actually plea and not put the family through a trial.
Right. And I imagine as a public defender, it must be annoying when victims have like pesky families, you know, because I imagine victims' families get upset when their loved one gets murdered. So you're like, do you ever find yourself like getting annoyed at a victim's family?
I've never personally been annoyed with the victim's family. Generally speaking, you know, they just shoot me a dirty look, and that's the end of it. I've only had one case where I was actually concerned for my safety, and I didn't even know I needed to be until one of the courtroom deputies said, "I'm going to walk you to your car." And I said, "Well, no, you know, it's like 10 o'clock at night, by the way." I'm like, "No, you know, my car is just right here." And he's, "No, I'm going to walk you to your car." And then he nods over at the family of the deceased victim. And I'm like, oh. This past trial I had, the family was just, they were amazing. They were very kind people.
Of the victim.
Forgiving. Yeah. Forgiving people. And, you know, they recognize I'm doing an important job, and that I'm, you know, an important half of the system.
Right. Right, because if there's not a public defender, if there's a bad public defender, like what tends to happen? If someone's not great, if someone has your job and they're not great at it.
If someone has my job and they're not great at it, they should first recognize that they're not great at it, and they should step away and go do something else that they might be great at, because you are the protector of the rights of your client, and anything that you do for your client, you're doing it because you don't want the whole system stepping on people. You can't let the system get away from that. If they take a liberty with one person who happens to be poor, why won't they do it with someone who isn't, you know? So if you're not good at your job and you're not protecting people, then the prosecutors start to think, oh, well, you know, I can just keep doing this. And you don't want prosecutors to go down in that line of thinking. And at the level that I'm at, they aren't like that at all. But when you have new prosecutors starting out, like, you know, sometimes they don't know better.
Right. There's a lady in my neighborhood that I think she's like a prosecutor, and she, she's perfectly nice to me, but I heard that she does like to call the cops on people. She likes to call 311 and 911 on people a lot. So yeah. So it's good that there's people like you in the world to kind of like balance that out.
Yeah, we try to keep the least amount of abuse in the system, but of course, you know, the system has so many problems built in that that's impossible.
Sure. So what is it like when you have a client? Like, I guess I want to ask you a little bit about the relationship with your client, and if you have to, do you ever, do you think in terms of, is this person guilty or not guilty? Do you have to operate from that sort of standpoint, or is your job like to just make sure that they're, I guess, treated in a way that's just and fair?
Well, my number one job is that they're treated just and fair. And my number two job is to, you know, test the system and make this the state has to be the one to prove something. I don't have to prove something. So if my client walks, it's because the state failed at their job.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one asks, hey, can you please arrest me so that I can be part of this great system?
Right.
So my number one job is to do that. Whether someone did or didn't do what the state claims they did, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
What I care about is what can the state prove and what can't they prove. So that's what I'm always looking for. But sometimes, sometimes the client is just dying to tell you whether they did or didn't do it and why.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you're stuck with what they've told you. So
sure.
I try not to ask a lot of questions. If I think, oh, I've got this great defense, I don't want to screw it up. I'm not going to ask too many questions of my client.
Right. So I'm assuming there have been times when a client's told you something and you go like, oh, I wish you hadn't told me that.
Yes. And then depending on what they want their defense to be, if they're going to be testifying, I can't represent them anymore because that has created a conflict between myself and the client and their defense.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes my office can still represent the person and it just gets assigned to a new attorney. And then sometimes our entire office has to conflict off.
Interesting. And what's like an example of a time when someone has maybe like given away too much or told you too much?
I would love to tell you that, but my clients enjoy confidentiality regardless of anything else. So, yeah.
Have you ever represented any famous people, like any like celebrities or?
I have not. I, as a public defender, have all of my clients appointed to me. They have to qualify for appointment.
Okay.
And I have a reputation around the jail now as being a good attorney, so they don't pick on me. But when you're a brand new public defender, you walk through the coals before you finally get the respect of your law degree and the time and effort that you put in on your cases.
Right.
Because they didn't get to pick me. They didn't get to interview a bunch of people and say, you know what, you are the best person to represent me. I want you. They didn't get to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Casey Anthony didn't have a public defender, right? She like paid for somebody.
That's correct. And I believe, and I could be mistaken about this, but I believe that she didn't really have that much money, so she signed perhaps rights to a book or something along those lines to her attorney. Her attorney was Jose Baez.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine worked for Jose Baez for a while and worked on that case. His name is Jose Garcia. And so, we were all just interested in that and watching it because it happened right here at my courthouse.
Oh, wow.
So, and my trial this past week was in that courtroom. I call it the Casey Anthony courtroom, but it's actually called courtroom 23. It's on the 23rd floor.
Okay.
So, yeah, we were all like at lunch in my building, which is right there in the courthouse complex. We would be watching it on the TV at lunch. When we would walk outside in the courtyard, there's Nancy Grace and Geraldo Rivera, both of them much shorter in person than I really thought. But,
interesting. Geraldo, I believe. I guess Nancy Grace, I believe too.
Well, and like it was a windy day and her hair just wasn't moving. It was just like you can tell it's a helmet, but holy shit.
Nice.
It's incredible.
Nice. So she didn't have a public defender, so she signed over book rights. So she was going to write a book about Jesus Christ.
Well, I don't know that she was going to write a book versus if Jose Baez wanted to write a book about the experience, then she would have signed the rights over and allowed him to do that. Or if someone made a movie about her or a book about her that would require her signing her rights for them to do it, then that would go to Jose Baez. I'm not that kind of lawyer, so I don't really know how that works.
Right. I'm not super.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with that case, but wasn't there a point where like her lawyer like they sort of delayed this, but then at one point her lawyer was like, "Oh, and by the way, Casey's father molested her." And wasn't that like a big bombshell that he dropped at some point?
Yeah,
Wasn't
it's so weird because a friend of mine and I were just talking about this the other day, and we were both trying to remember what was it that she all of a sudden said about her dad.
yeah.
Because we were like, I feel like he had some sort
Well,
of
there's only
like
a few
history
things.
with law enforcement or something, and
Mm-hmm.
that so we were like, oh, he probably helped her to like cover this up, and then here she goes dropping that shit on him during trial.
Right. And maybe he did help her cover it up.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if I helped my daughter cover up the murder of my granddaughter and then she said I molested her, I'd be very upset.
Oh yeah, like that's not, you're gonna be on restriction, lady.
Yeah. I'd be like, this is bullshit. Um,
Like I assume that family is just permanently fractured and will never
mm-hmm.
heal. But the great thing about Casey Anthony is she stayed out of the news.
Mm-hmm.
For as high profile a case as hers is, you don't hear about Casey Anthony that often. But George Zimmerman, who was
Yeah.
also a big trial around here,
Uh-huh.
oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
that it's just so weird to be thinking to yourself, I really wish you were more like Casey Anthony.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, I wonder what she's doing or how she's making a living or like whatever. I mean, she's probably judging wet t-shirt contests or something.
Like here
But
and there, a
yeah,
rumor will come along. Like I think the most recent rumor that I heard was something about perhaps starting a private investigative agency.
okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like every couple months George Zimmerman's like, "Hey, I'm selling signed photos of me."
Yeah.
Hold.
Or look at me, I'm getting arrested again because here I am with another gun.
Yeah.
Like, just lay low,
Yeah.
George.
Yeah, yeah. He seems like kind of a bad guy if I can make that judgment.
I will merely say that he seems like a client and
Mhm.
that he will always be giving some attorney some legal fees.
Okay. Nice. So you mentioned earlier about like a lot of the clients that you have, you kind of you like them, they're nice to you, you feel sympathy for them. Are there any clients that you like don't feel sympathy for, and does that affect your work at all?
I have never not had sympathy for a client in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
I've never had a client where I was like, man, I wish I didn't have her or him.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it's and it just sounds so weird to be saying when someone's got very serious and sometimes violent charges to say that these are good and decent people.
Mhm.
um but they really are, and I'm all they have,
Mhm.
and I take that really seriously.
Nice. So let me ask you a little bit about the Freedom of Information Act, because I see people have some questions about that, and people.
Okay,
All right. So I guess my first question is what is it?
so everybody thinks that like it's some sort of glamorous thing and that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just having all these papers rained down upon me. And no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, these are, government agencies, and documents that they produce are the public's documents. And we're just trying to get those documents and get them out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but of course, there are exceptions to that, and the government's really good at invoking those exceptions. And in
Mm-hmm.
some places, they aren't subject to it at all. For
Mm-hmm.
example, Congress exempted itself when it created these laws.
Mm-hmm.
So um, you cannot FOIA Congress, and you
Okay.
cannot FOIA the president.
But what is it
So,
exactly? It's like, so if you need information about something, you're allowed to request it.
yeah, so all of these agencies, produce all kinds of documents for all sorts of reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and you're entitled to seek those documents. And
Oh.
sometimes you'll get them, sometimes you won't.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't stop with federal agencies, it applies to states,
Mm-hmm.
local governments, your county commission. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have some questions from people on Twitter. Do you what's your well, first let me ask you, cuz I probably spend way too much time on Twitter. I deleted it off my phone this weekend, and I re-downloaded it. And do you feel like any part of it is like cuz I think in the past, 4 years or so, I've used Twitter to kind of like expand my my network, and I've met a lot of you know, I met a lot of, I guess, cool people through politics and stuff like that, or who I guess share a lot of my political beliefs. But is there anything? What would you say is the best thing about it? Is there do you see any like use in it? Does it help you at
I
all?
think I think that the best thing about it is, I'm talking to people that I never would have otherwise met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that's truly the best part of it. I've met a lot of people from Twitter already,
Mm-hmm.
and I will be meeting another person from Twitter um, when she comes to town for work, which I want to say is the end of next week, but I'm not going to reveal who that is because,
Okay.
that she may want to reveal that online. And
Okay.
if she doesn't, then we'll leave that hidden.
Okay.
But so for me, it's just talking to all kinds of people that I never would have otherwise met.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them have, it may be something little, but everyone has something to teach me.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. It was really funny though when that guy got mad at you for wearing an expensive shirt.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Um, and that was, oh gosh, what was that associate? Oh, that was when I was making fun of the guy that's suing the
The Nirvana
Dave
guy.
Grohl,
Yeah.
and yeah, the Nirvana baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah, that
forget.
guy was a bigger baby than the Nirvana baby.
Yeah, for sure. And I forget what the guy said, but he was like, I forget how this even came up, but he was like, yeah, you're just here. And I forget what you said that bothered him so much, but he was like, yeah, you're just out here wearing $400. I mean, a lot of these people are. See, the thing is, I don't know who is insane and who could potentially give me $5 a month on Patreon. So I have to kind of like, I can't really like block or mute anybody. Because they could be subscribers. By the way, patreon.com/sitdownpod. But yeah, this guy was like this guy was like, yeah, you just wear $400 shirts. And then you were like, I've never bought a shirt for $400. And he was like, yes, you did. I tried to buy it for my wife and I couldn't afford it. And then he was like mad at you for like modeling the shirt, I guess.
I mean,
I
it
don't
was
know.
just crazy. Like all I and like the whole way that shirt even started
Mm-hmm.
is I was sad,
Mm-hmm.
and I was either drinking or had been drinking, and
Mm-hmm.
I came across a shirt that the style of the shirt was called Beth, and I was like, that's a cool shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like a gift card, and then it was also on sale.
Right.
So I got it for like, I don't know, like I think out of my own pocket
Right.
$80.
Yeah.
And I will spend $80 max on a shirt that I can wear in court. So the crazier part of that though is that this guy remembered it like 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah.
Like, and uh, so like little stuff like that, I'm like, what else are people like simmering over? Like, what am I gonna get like berated for next week when I make someone mad when I give my opinion on something else?
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Um, we have some But do you ever like? But people don't like get mad at you. Do people get mad at you for having? Because you posted a picture of your car, which is a very nice car, and then you posted a picture. You post your dinners a lot, which I always appreciate. I'm like a food guy, so I do like seeing what people are eating for dinner. But is there any part of you that goes like, so many of my Twitter followers are such losers. Maybe I shouldn't do this.
Well, no, I mean, I think what people like about me is I'm authentic. I am my real self. Like, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not one of the rich lawyers. I'm a public defender. I post these meals from my favorite restaurant that's dangerously close to my apartment, but that's like a couple times a month, and the rest of the month I'm eating a spoonful of peanut butter like everybody else. Sure. Because I like to go and spend money at my favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
My car, like, I just assume that I will always have a car payment, so it doesn't bother me. I'm used to paying for it. It's something that's built into, these are my monthly bills.
Sure.
So I don't ever think about it. And, here and there, I feel bad. Like, I wish all of my followers were in the same or in even better position. But that doesn't really, it doesn't really cross my mind not to post something or not to be myself.
Right. And it's not our fault, folks, that you can't afford a $400 shirt for your wife,
Well, I mean, I can't afford one either, sir. So Me and your wife, same boat, except I have the shirt too bad.
Yeah. Nice.
And it was never $400.
Okay.
So I heard some sort of squeaky noise. Did you actually grab a human baby, or
what kind
is there like a dolphin?
Yeah, I don't know. He likes to he likes to scream a lot. Yeah, you'll hear him like when we're in restaurants or when I'm podcasting. He'll go ah. But yeah, I just picked up his high chair and brought it in here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully be quiet, okay? Because Daddy's working. All right. So we have some questions.
That was the sound of this isn't real work.
Yeah, it's I'm very much in this podcasting purgatory where I don't make my entire living from it, but I don't make no money from it, so I can't really like quit because I get a little stipend on Patreon, like every month I get I don't know, maybe a few $100. So yeah. So I don't know, but I think he does probably. I guess he does understand that he's friends with the Chapo guys, and he knows what they make. So, and he's like, "Why don't you make this much? You fucking loser." He's like, "You suck."
I like how he's laughing about that.
Yeah, he likes laughing at Daddy. All right, so we have some questions from a few people on Twitter, so I'm gonna just fire these off. So somebody wants to know, since getting your JD, have you ever knowingly broken the law?
Every time I get in my car.
Why? Because you're like an anti-seatbelt. Okay, nice. Do you wear your seatbelt?
I do wear my seatbelt, but the speed limit signs are a mere recommendation, and I go at least 10 over.
Nice. Do you use your phone and drive?
No, not really. Like, if I'm at a red light, I will check my texts, but otherwise, no.
Nice. What's one law you think should be abolished?
I think anything that makes a drug illegal should be abolished, because it's only hurting the person. It's not hurting the state of Florida. So,
what's the most surprising case you've ever worked on?
Oh gosh, I can't even really answer that question. Not even just because of confidentiality, but like I couldn't come up with one if I wanted to. Like every single one of them has a surprise in it somewhere that I wasn't expecting.
And then the last question from this person is, what is it about Chet Hanks?
Chet Hanks is entertaining, and above all else, all I want is to be entertained, and he's hilarious.
Yeah, he is.
Now, would he like annoy me with stupidity about like 30 minutes later? Of course. But for the first 30 minutes, it's just nonstop fun, I would imagine.
He does seem like he's enjoying his life.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
Yeah. Do you think he might have been sex trafficked at all?
Chet Hanks sex trafficked.
Do you think maybe that's why he talks like that? Because he's like, you know, his parents like pimped him out to like global Hollywood elite?
It would certainly explain like the Illuminati looking tattoo he has, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe like he just, you know, maybe that's what happens when your dad sells you for sex. You just start talking in a Jamaican accent. I don't know. Never happened to me. I had a pretty good father. Okay, I'm going to just pick this baby up, and I'm going to see if because you can hear him, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I believe he exists now. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't sure
yeah.
about photoshopping, but now I believe it.
No, I'm not just playing baby noises in my house. I didn't just hire a TaskRabbit guy to make baby noises so that you think I have a kid.
Yeah, you hired this one on Fiverr.
I hired someone on Fiverr, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna grab him real quick and let's see if he shuts the fuck up if I hold him. I'll be right back.
Like you're still new to how babies work, right? Because
yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you hold them or not. Like if they want to make a noise,
he's still gonna scream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just hoping that maybe, I don't know. He does like to be held. So we'll see. If not, maybe we can just maybe we'll just finish the interview like later tonight. We'll do another 15 minutes or something. But I think he's good at the moment. Also, his right now my hand is closer to his mouth, so I can just kind of, you know.
Yeah, smother him.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody wanted to know, in a civil suit, how much could you sue Deb for since she sold your smoker without your consent? I don't know if you know this story, but I had a Texas smoker that was a gift from my uncle, and I had it in my front yard in Brooklyn, and my mom essentially gave my wife permission to sell it on Facebook Marketplace. So somebody came by when I wasn't around, and my wife, I'm getting a little emotional thinking about this, but my wife sold it to them.
Okay, well, it sounds like your wife sold her own smoker because what's yours is hers.
Right. Yeah.
So
but
too bad, sucker.
Can you sue your wife or something like that?
You could. Do you still want her to be your wife?
Yeah, I guess. I just got to take that
like
one on
you
the
like looking at that kid, right? And being able to hold that kid.
Yeah, yes, I do. I guess I love my kid more than the smoker.
Maybe we leave Deb out of this one, and hey, you know what? Maybe one day you get a better smoker.
Yeah, a guy can dream, I guess. Okay, so here's a good question. What was the most? She just texted me water from the other room. She knows I'm doing a podcast, and she just texted me for water. She's a lot. Okay, what was the most satisfying FOIA request she's ever gotten?
I guess if we're talking time-wise, it would be the most recent one with the FDA because they did that tweet about ivermectin and said, you are not a horse, you are not a cow, stop it, y'all, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that one, I asked for emails, and anytime you ask one of these government agencies for emails, like you wait half your life to get them.
Okay.
I got them like just days after the statutory time period was up, and not only did I get them like super quick like that, there was not a single redaction on it. I've never had any FOIA response that didn't have redactions on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just incredible.
Speaking of statutory, do you think Jerry Seinfeld will ever be charged for statutory raping that teenager?
Well, so I don't know New York's age of consent laws. I'm sure a libertarian could tell me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you're not a libertarian, are you?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
No, but
So,
they know that they love knowing that stuff, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for every single state. So,
Mm-hmm.
I would say no.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, a lot of states don't have statutes of limitations on sex crimes,
Uh-huh.
but I think when you're rich enough and you're famous enough and no one's bitching,
Mm-hmm.
it's perfectly acceptable and fine.
Right. Yeah, why do libertarians go so quickly from I like the free market? It always goes from like I like the free market to segregation is actually okay and then I should be able to have sex with a teenager. It always goes there very quickly.
It really does. And what's the difference between them and those people with the globe emojis?
Yeah. What are what are the globe emojis?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I should have. We'll find that out. Okay. During a divorce process, if a wife gets pregnant with someone else's baby, does the new baby legally belong to the husband, or is it after the baby's born? I would assume that it would belong to whoever got the woman pregnant.
Okay, well, I would assume that, like, for right, okay, so this is kind of complicated.
Uh-huh.
But I believe that in the state of Florida,
Uh-huh.
if a child is born during a marriage, the child is of the marriage, and therefore the
Oh.
spouse
Oh.
is required to pay the child support.
Uh.
However,
Uh-oh.
I think that you could do something and get that fixed later on,
Mm-hmm.
to get off the hook. But yeah, I for child support purposes, I think if a child is born during the marriage, you're on the hook for 18 years ish until you prove otherwise.
Oh. That's a bummer. Wait, so but
Well,
what happens what if I find out that my baby isn't mine? I'm on the hook for that.
well, I mean, and every state is different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. And maybe, I don't know, maybe all states are the same. Like this is under state law, and I'm not qualified to speak for any state other than Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
like a lot of people don't find out until like the child is like in their 20s, and
Right.
they raise the child as their own. That's
Right.
still to them their child, no matter what.
Sure.
So, like you right now, your wife is still letting you like hold this baby. So
Mm-hmm.
this is your kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, if I found out he wasn't mine, I mean, I like I don't know how you move forward from that. I don't know what the law says, but I guess I would just be, I would, I don't know. Would I keep raising him? Maybe, but I would definitely want to be in his life. So I would probably just like be around. I'd be like a, I'd be like a guy with who just like has a dog that he likes that lives in the neighborhood. And then when he's 18, you could tell him, you could be like, "Well, that's the guy who thought he was your father." But
I mean, I would think it's also hard for the child because, the baby didn't do anything,
right. Right.
and then all of a sudden this person they were super attached to isn't in their life.
Right.
And
But you're saying it's probably best not to know if a baby that you're raising is not yours.
I'll tell you right now, I would never admit that that's not my husband's baby.
Really?
So, really.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Nope.
You would just play
Those
dumb.
are these are your children, sir.
I guess I want to ask you this: whenever there's like if there's ever like a high profile case in the media or on the news or something, do you ever experience those cases differently? Like when when OJ was happening. Were you practicing law when?
I was not practicing when OJ was happening. I didn't go to law school until really late. I was a
Okay.
stay-at-home mom for
Okay.
several years, and that drove me insane. And I
Uh-huh.
realized that's not the kind of mom I am. So I went to
Yeah.
law school in my 30s and
Yeah.
graduated when I was 34.
Okay.
And so I didn't see that, but like a lot of times, like people want my opinion on things that are big in the news. And
Mm-hmm.
number one, I think they actually really don't want to hear what I think, because they're going to be hearing it from a defense attorney's standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I don't always know enough. Like I
Yeah.
can read what's put in the paper, but I don't know everything. Like they don't put everything in the paper, and the paper does get things wrong all the time.
Sure.
So generally speaking, I keep my mouth shut on a lot of stuff that's related to criminal stuff because nobody wants to hear it, and some of it would get me canceled.
Right.
So
Right. And you're a professional.
ish.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how professional I actually am on my Twitter, but
Yeah.
the illusion of professional.
Right. Well, cool. It was really nice talking to you. Do you have any final thoughts, or was there anything that we didn't get to talk about, or anything that you'd like to say, or any questions for me?
Well, yeah, I would like to know. I mean, I understand that you're a white guy and therefore you're allegedly supposed to have a pod, but how
Mhm.
did you decide, I'm going to do this and start doing it and make a living at it?
I think I just I'm friends with the Cumtown guys. So they were doing it, and I was like, I'll do it. And it started off as like a crime. It started off as a crime podcast, like a mafia podcast. And then I got tired of reading every week, so I was like, we'll just call it the Sit Down with Mike. We'll keep the name the Sit Down, and we'll interview people, and we'll talk to comics and people from Twitter, and we'll just try to keep it funny and interesting and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so I would like to come on in the future and do like favorite stuff happening on Twitter, favorite tweets and stuff like that.
Okay.
There's more to me than the law.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of stupid at everything that's not the law. That's all. But like if you want stupid opinions on whatever, I've got plenty of those.
Okay. Anything recently in like pop culture or any kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop. Are you watching the shows that everybody's watching? Are you watching like Squid Game?
I have been told that I need to start watching the Squid Game.
Yeah.
When I was in trial, I couldn't do anything other than be in trial. And then in order to be in trial, I spend like 2 weeks making sure I've got everything in order.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of hibernate from TV news and those things. I tend to only look at stuff that I can, get the gist of quickly.
It was interesting hearing about like your relationship with the clients, because do you ever like? I mean, I guess stop it, shut up. He won't shut the fuck up. I guess all right. Before he all right, this kid's gonna be punished later, but
Thank God for that.
He wants to chew on my finger. There we go. Okay, now you can be quiet. But have you ever had somebody like? Have you ever had like a client like walk free and you're like, well, that might not have been good. Has anyone ever like got off for murder and you're like, they're probably gonna murder somebody again?
Well, I've only had a couple of murder trials, and like a lot of those end up pleading versus being a trial.
Okay.
So, no, I've never had something like that where I was like, oh, this is gonna no.
Okay. You've never let like Jeffrey Dahmer go free, and you're like, well, I guess I'm a good lawyer. We'll see.
Well,
what happens
and again,
there.
remember, again, remember, it wouldn't be me letting someone go free.
It would be the
the
state.
state not doing their job.
Right,
Which,
right.
maybe if they had waited before arresting him to get all of their evidence in order, the case would have been different. But no, like if one of my clients gets to walk free out of that courtroom, I am the happiest person you've ever seen.
Nice. All right, well, listen, I can just feel the listeners getting mad that there's a crying baby right here. We're still getting used to kind of like coordinating our schedules, me and my wife, and like who has him. And I guess I could have called you back, but I felt like he was being good and we were close. We were close to, like being done.
Okay, have you considered letting me talk to him?
Sure. I have headphones though, so let me. Here, Ben.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead, Beth. Go ahead.
Ben, what's going on?
That?
What is that man doing to you?
Who is that?
Ben, what is he doing to you? Is he pinching you right now?
You're not using any swear words, are you? I can't hear what you're saying.
I was not using swear words. I did ask if he was being abused. Ben, do you need me to call 911?
Whoops. All right, okay. He's trying to take the headphones up. You know what I'm trying to do? I hope that he hates podcasting so much that he never does one.
Oh, that's what this is. This is like tough love.
It's like, my dad used to make me sit in for his podcast. I want him to hate podcasts. Yeah. So, but anyway, thanks so much for chatting with me, though.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Follow Beth on Twitter at Beth Bourdon, Bourdon. And you guys know where to find us, patreon.com/sitdownpod. Follow us on Twitter at sitdownpod. Follow me, Racine Mike, on Instagram, Mike Racine on Twitter. And we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.